LeBron James' wife, Savannah James, says she just wanted to focus on being a great mom and supporting her husband when asked why she keeps a low profile while other NBA player wives opt to go on reality TV, becoming influencers and build brands.
And so, this made me think, like, it gives me that loud minority thing because when I thought about it, I'm not a person who watches a lot of basketball. So I had to go Google basketball wives. And a lot of them I didn't even know. They look like regular women who are just like Savannah. It's just her husband is LeBron. So, of course, we know Savannah. But why do you think people think that all of these wives are just like these Instagram models? When I looked them up, they seem to be pretty decent, well dressed, modest women. Anybody?
I think it's a few things, right? I think that because some of the wives have gone on television shows, they've been all over Instagram, trying to build their own brand by proxy. I think there's so many examples on it done wrong that I think that the Savannahs of the world have become an example to some of the younger upcoming wives. So I think there's more and more of that kind of family branding, right? Like the Currys did a really good job up until recently with their family branding, right? Even though she built her own brand and she was on Instagram and doing all of this stuff, she still kept a fairly low profile until all that stuff came out with her wanting attention and then rumors of them being in an open marriage. I think that they're understanding the benefit of having more of a family dynamic like that.
What
And I
was
think
that rumor again? What's that? I didn't see that rumor. Run that by me again. They're in an open what?
an open marriage, you didn't hear those rumors? That was like a year ago. This is old news.
Oh my, honey. New to me. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So, there were rumors of that after that statement on the Red Table Talk that she made of like, she just wanted to feel desired too. So not long after some of that information kind of went viral. Nobody's confirmed anything, so we don't know. Everything's allegedly. But, when you have so many of those examples out there and you see that those marriages don't last or they're not ideal or they're not happy or they hurt the money, I think people are kind of starting to steer away from that. We're watching the pendulum kind of swing the other way.
I also think too, I think this is a representation of I think what happens in online social media in general is that you have a small minority that ends up being the reflection for everybody, because the truth of the matter is the vast majority of those NBA players who are married, you don't hear or see anything related to their wives at all. And I think with this situation that is making it seem like the Currys and all of that is the representation of what most of the wives are trying to do. But in reality, I think most wives are like LeBron James, where you don't hear about them. They're not trying to be out there creating brands or wanting to be in the spotlight or anything like that. So I think this whole thing is just the same reflection of what we see, where you have, the what they say, the loud minority that ends up becoming a face or representation of the majority who aren't even doing that.
And let me just add, because Mistaken didn't mention this, Mistaken's brother used to be a former NBA player. So she's been behind the scenes. And you're right, even when I went to the game with you guys, the women just like regular wives. Nothing like no bimbo, none of that stuff. Regular wives with family, type women. So I just think that that's kind of strange that people think just associated like they're anything but that. But go ahead, AP. Did you want to add?
Actually, I believe it's the perception of the money. I think that people presume that when you make X amount of dollars, you're going to have a certain look of a wife, of a mate, um, not recognizing that most of the time that your wife is likely to be more like what you would consider a wife, and what you're doing out on the road is what you're doing out on the road. And those are the ones that that people think that these guys are with, they don't want those type of women. Regardless of how much money you make, yeah, you can bust those nines and tens down and use them as dumpsters. And when you get home, you typically will have a modest, normal looking woman as a wife because she possesses the qualities that you would likely consider as a wife quality. And I think that's where that perception comes from.
You know what's so funny? I think that people often too mix up wife and maybe a girlfriend or baby mama. Because when I look at the basketball wives, because that's what people like to refer to, most of those aren't wives. They're either a baby mom or ex-girlfriend, not necessarily a wife. And the two that are wives, they're still married. But I think that they get those mixed up. So when you go to games, you may see that woman, but is she the wife? The wife may be there.
Now,
But she's not the wife.
typically you wouldn't see the girlfriend on camera. The reason you wouldn't do that because part of the job of the athlete is to do what you do on the road and don't embarrass your family while you're out there on the road. And I think that's more of an understood kind of thing, and I think most of the guys truly understand that.
Gotcha. And again, we're just talking about wives. I think that people miss the word wife with girlfriend. Just because he's with her, if he has not given her his last name, she's just the moment, in my opinion. For now. For now. So anybody else wanted to add to that? Marky Mark, thank you for coming.
Yeah, I was knocked out. You know how
I figured. I was like, something tells me Marky Mark is sweet.
Yeah, that alarm was going off. But let me ask you this: could you repeat the first question?
So basically, the topic was I'm gonna put the banner back up, but the brand. So this is what it says. So basically, the internet, they always talk about Savannah James and how great of a wife she is, and she is a superb wife. I'm so glad she exists because, I love the fact that she's circulating. She's a beautiful woman. She carries herself very well. I believe what it is that she's trying to do. So it's a beautiful thing. But I think that what happens is they automatically assume that most wives aren't like that. But what we've seen is that, there's some loud BMs, baby mamas, or girlfriends, but the wives carry themselves pretty well. Like who's married? Like Westbrook, isn't his name Westbrook? I don't hear anything about his wife. And all of the other men who have wives, I don't hear anything bad about the wives. Important word, wives. So we were just trying to wonder why they people think that they tend to want to be on reality TV shows, or they're the loud or ratchet women when those indeed are not the wives.
Or just want to be in the spotlight in general.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was what we were talking about.
So I think that it's like men compartmentalize stuff, right? So you would have so a man might have a woman that he was dating since 15 that he in love with and met at 15, right? And she might not be a woman he would date at 25, but he might stay with her because he can compartmentalize like, all right, she was the woman that I needed throughout this whole time. I know this is no new ulterior motives and all that. But when you want to go to the club, you don't want to pull up with the girl that you thought she doesn't quite fit the beauty standard for the club that you're going to. I've seen people do this before. So they be pulling out like the 10 that the AP was talking about, but they don't really be having no substance behind them. So it just be visual. And then people mistake that may be the wife. They get to affiliating you around the city with those type of girls because they always see you with that specific caliber of girl. But the wife be tucked and be away from all the BS,
You think they be hiding their wife, bro? Like that's
not
legit hiding your wife.
They be like what Drake say, I'm not hiding my baby from the world, I'm hiding the world from my baby. I think it might be something like more like that, where it's not like, oh yeah, she not.
I think what you described, and this is not to really poke a hole in your argument, but what you described is just the opposite of that. That's not protecting the world from your woman. That's protecting you from the scrutiny of what your woman looks like.
Look, not to
I'm-
say the wives be ugly, they just don't. All right, so look,
Yeah, because them ones when they're bad wives, they like to show them off, honey.
yeah, like the. All right, so look,
So
it's the
luckily,
difference
Savannah's a nice
between
looking woman.
there are women who walk around and you know she gonna get paid to look like that. She don't even got a model. She gonna get paid just to look like that. Those women be at the club. You know what I'm saying? That's who you. I've seen a lot of people take to the club or meet at the club, go by themselves to meet up with them type of women.
And see, I think that's more in line with what I think actually happens. I don't think they necessarily take that woman to the club, but that's the woman that they'll meet while they are at the club.
Yeah.
Because
But then when they leave
you
the
are
club,
seeing,
did they taking them with them?
they might leave with them through the back, because I really think that those guys work to protect themselves and their families from the BS. I really do. I've actually
ones-
seen it.
Well,
Yeah, the ones.
if they're protecting, because this to me is kind of like an oxymoron. How are they protecting their wives and their family from the BS when they're engaging in BS to begin with?
Depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times there's an understanding in the relationship. Like women, I think oftentimes we like to believe that you ladies are naive, but we fully understand you aren't naive. And when we get into those relationships, when those guys get into those relationships with their, with their wives, like he was talking about, you got a girl since you were 15, you come to an understanding that things happen because of who you are. You have a lot of options.
A whole lot.
So
A whole lot. Yeah.
I understand that you're taking care of a need or an urge while you're out, and you're taking care of the family while you're here. I mean, that's just kind of the way it is. Like, I don't think Cookie would have really had a problem with Magic until, right?
Yeah.
Until
But,
that.
but
You
that's
also
the
gotta
thing.
factor this in.
Isn't that always the possibility? Like not just with Magic Johnson getting what he got, but ended up having kids outside of the marriage, like all of, because what I've learned, kind of being not necessarily directly in that space, but just kind of being privy to certain things, is that
You talking about your brother?
Yeah, um, men are very irresponsible when it comes to doing that. So even if you're trying to say, I'm protecting my family, so to speak, one, if you were protecting them, you wouldn't be engaging in that kind of behavior anyway. But two, if you are, the protection comes with literally protecting yourself by using, condoms and stuff like that. And a lot of the men in those, they don't.
Though you use the key word irresponsible, and you're right, there are a lot of them that are irresponsible, but there are also in that way, but there are also a lot of them that aren't irresponsible in that way. And because there are, truthfully, there are condoms all around you. They make sure that you have, like, the leagues make sure that you're aware and that there are condoms available to you, period. So there's no real excuse. They're just being dumb. They're like that. That's the only way to say it. They're being dumb.